Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mel Vandevort, and today I am doing part 2 of creating a culture of collaboration to empower teachers with Dr. Chris Jones. This is the second half of our conversation from last week. So if you missed last week's conversation, go back and listen to that before you listen to this. You don't want to miss all the great information he presented in the first half of our conversation. We continue talking about the importance of cultivating that positive environment where teachers feel supported and students can thrive. During this half of the conversation, Chris talked about how they created a really unique schedule for their high school students, and I was very intrigued by it. So I think you will be too. So let's get started. Hi, friend. Are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion.
100%. And it's funny because you talking about that and going back to when we were talking about the teachers become the class, when I was at my last high school, I had just arrived there. It was my first year there. And my first year there, I was an assistant principal. And I went into an evaluated teacher, and she was using stickers with seniors. And the seniors were arguing to see who could do the review first, who could answer her questions first. And they all had to have a special notebook that these stickers went in, or else they didn't get the sticker. And so they all came to class prepared. They were super engaged, and I sat in the back of the classroom thinking to myself, well, Jones, how many PDs have you sat through where you're like, oh yeah, just give them stickers or candy? That never worked for high school. And now I'm sitting in the back of a classroom watching these students argue with each other about who answered it more completely and more accurately so they could grab that sticker.
That's because it's competitive. Kids are competitive. Right. And it doesn't matter if it's a sticker or a bronze medal or whatever it is. It's right. It's leaderboard. It's gamification. She was gamifying her room with stickers.
Right. And so I think to myself, oh, high school teachers won't do that. Yes, they will. If you frame it right. Look, high school, elementary, middle. Yes, we are different because we have different set of tools that we need with different types of students that are in front of us. However, we are all teachers. We're all human. Yep. And so we share that very common bond that there are basic things that really resonate across the levels. My first opening meeting, my first year here as a principal 6 years ago, I had them throwing water balloons around outside to illustrate how one person in a group could make it impossible to get as high as you want success-wise. So you have to take care of that one balloon that's filled with water instead of air, to illustrate that. And they had a blast. I have it on video. They had a blast playing out in the front of the school with water balloons and trash bags.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
It's there. But I digress, as I sometimes do. Just tell me when I should start going back to.
That's okay. Yeah.
So, we have the vision, the graduate, and we want to make it drive things. So we also have become members of Innovation Career Pathways. And what that is it sets up certain pathways in a high school after speaking with and analyzing the data from your regional job reports. It sets them up. You partner with industry to get industry credentials. And so your students in the pathways that you have graduate more prepared than anybody else they're going to meet at the entry level jobs. So they have available to them good career ladders. So if they don't want to go to college, or if they go to college and it's not good for them, or if they want to take a year off, they have a career that we've prepared them for right out of high school.
I
And so
love
we
that.
happen to be doing health and social services, and business and finance are our two pathways. The thing is with that, and it's through the state, it's a grant funded initiative. We need to have students when they graduate. One of the components you need is a 100-hour internship. And
Mm-hmm.
this can't be an internship where they're emptying the trash and filing. They need to be hands-on in the
Mm-hmm.
job with their certifications and credentials. So we needed to figure out how that works into a schedule. And then we wanted to put in a win block, what we call a win block. People call it tons of different things, but it started as a win block. It's what I need. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
a space where it's unstructured time in the schedule where students can go to all different places.
Yes, I've heard of that before.
So we wanted to put one of those in. Well, to do all that, our schedule really wasn't working. So we needed to create a new schedule. So back to the drawing board with working with people, going back and forth with the faculty, and coming up with ideas and trying to make something that fit our faculty and student needs to make sense. And we got stuck going back and forth between traditional, where, you meet 5 times in a 7-day cycle and you drop 2 periods each day. You meet 6 and drop 1 each day. And maybe we go to a block schedule. So we were doing all of this, and we ended up going to a block schedule plus 1. It's a block schedule, but the blocks, there's 8 periods, there's 8 blocks. 4 meet on one day, 4 meet the next day, and you alternate days like that. But they're static, they don't rotate. Then they're not the 90-minute periods. What we do is we take one of each period. So you have 8 of them, they'll span the 8-day cycle, and
Mm-hmm.
we put one in the morning. So the morning class changes every day. So people aren't seeing the same student or the same teacher the same time every day, because that's one of the issues that people had. By freezing the periods, we can release people for their 100-hour internship way early without impacting their academics. We put our win block as a static period at the end of the day so that students in good standing can actually just dismiss themselves if they're seniors. And so they don't have to stay if they're in good
Wow.
standing. So we've kind of opened it up. We've done some flexible things, and we looked at it. And some of the offerings that we're going to have in WinBlock have to do with your goal setting, your critical thinking, your future mindedness, those things that we mentioned in our vision of the graduate. So we just had a leadership meeting where now we're looking at the rubrics on which we're going to not grade, but score the students on their progress to meeting the expectations of the vision of the graduate. The faculty and students have said that they feel such a part of the process of this schedule that they're really bought into, yeah, this is going to be great. And there's actually an excitement in the air of it. There's the question of what's going to be happening, but there's also the excitement of, hey, this is really cool, because
Mm-hmm.
we made last minute changes right after a faculty meeting where one of the faculty members stood up and said, I'd really like to do this. Like, Johnny is doing really poor in my class. I can't get him to do anything. But in Joe's class, he's crushing it, getting
Mm-hmm.
A's, doing everything he's supposed to. I never get a chance to meet with Joe to make sure or see what he's doing that I'm not doing, or that
Mm-hmm.
what might be working in his class that's not working in mine. So last minute, we figured out with this 8-period rotation where we put PLC time in, where teachers for 2 hours a week get PLC time that we schedule right into their day. So there are some days where the teacher teaches 2 classes and covers a win block, but has their prep and then has a PLC. So they can get a lot of their work done during the day. It fosters collaboration among the staff, and it really helps us move towards fulfilling that vision of the graduate. At this last leadership meeting, and we reiterated this, and this is what people have to understand about visions, to draw it back to where I was before.
Mm-hmm.
A vision of the graduate isn't about the student. It's about the school and what the school is doing for the student. So if a student is not meeting the expectations of the vision of the graduate, that's not on the student.
Right.
That's on the school. So the
Yes.
vision of the graduate doesn't grade the student, it grades the staff and the school as an organization and how they function as an organization to serve the student. So it's really good, exciting stuff as we look at these rubrics, and because then we get our data that we can analyze so we can continuously improve on getting our students to reach that vision.
So was your board and your district leadership, were they on board with this?
No, we've done all this at the high school level.
Yeah, but I mean, are they saying, yeah, this looks great? I mean, are they supportive, I guess is what I should say.
Sure. I run stuff by them as we come up with it, and right before we finalize it and everything, they love the schedule. They're like, this is really creative. And like I said, we haven't heard of anything like it before, like around us, because we research different schedules. All too often, we put things in front of faculty and we put things in front of leadership teams and other people, and they have questions. And instantly, right, we start to get a little defensive, and we start to think of, why is that, why their question is wrong instead of why maybe our solution can be better. And so what we really strive to do is look at what people are saying and take that feedback and use it. So when you're building a schedule, there are hundreds of examples of schedules out there, and none of them are perfect. Some work better than others. Some work for you better than others. The important thing is to look at what you are trying to accomplish in your building and make it work for you, your students, your faculty, and everybody that needs to reside in that building. Because once you do that, by taking their input back, then that's where you get the buy-in. That's where you get the community, the belonging, the engagement, and they feel supported and they feel empowered. One of the ways that I was able to gain a lot of informal feedback on it is I have 15-minute meetings with my faculty. So every faculty member has a scheduled 15-minute meeting with me in the middle of the year. And I ask them 3 questions. I lead into it because I have to lead into it for faculty that are new, that have never done it before. But the others know. They come in and sometimes they have their sticky notes. Sometimes they go off the top of their head. But I have 3 questions for them. I have, what am I currently doing that I need to keep doing? In other words, what's working for you around here? What's good? What am I currently doing that I need to stop doing because it grates on you, it's not working? Or what is it in your estimation that I should be doing that I'm not? And then what's one thing that I can do today or tomorrow that will help make your life a little easier or better? And so we have those 3 questions. We have a 15-minute discussion. And I lead off with the new teachers by saying, look, a major part of my job is to observe, evaluate, offer feedback. What kind of leader could I possibly be if I didn't let you evaluate me and give me feedback on what I'm doing? And so it's just a really good way to have a conversation. But when you're talking about engaging people, well, that engages people because they feel empowered that they can come into my office and just sit and be honest with me. It's their 15 minutes. I don't defend what they say. I don't, or anything. I don't make excuses for anything. I just listen and I take notes. And then the important piece is when they give me things that'll help them, be it magnetic poetry, be it they like coffee, and I know that they like coffee, so I bring them a coffee during the day. I just make sure I act on it because then they feel valued and they feel heard.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we are getting close to our time, maybe just a little bit over. So I would love it if you would give our listeners, most of my listeners are probably teachers who are getting ready to move into leadership or they're early in their leadership transition. Give them some words of wisdom about culture and mindset around culture, and maybe as a principal or a high school principal, however you want to frame that up for them.
Sure. I can't take credit for this. Somebody else said this, but culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture. When you're done focusing on the culture, focus on the culture. It's about culture and communication. So once you move into the position, that's the biggest thing, is building an environment where people can communicate freely. And you do that first by communicating to people. Now, there's all kinds of strategic ways to do that. Me personally, I communicate with my staff once a week. And I do it through an internal memo. And I have right on the title, it's for staff only. So I can get a little loose with my language in it. But I give them new things. I give them things that I wouldn't put out in my weekly newsletter that goes out to the whole community. They get that too. But the language is different in the memo, but I give them reminders of upcoming things. I give them new things to focus on. I have 2 optional surveys in there. One is a weekly check-in, health check-in wise, that asks them, are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you creating boundaries?
Wow,
Um,
I love that.
and how are you on a scale of 1 to 10 is the first question. Then I ask them all those other things. And then I say, what do you need help with is the last question. That goes out in my weekly memo. The other survey, my weekly memo, is burning questions and concerns. And so if they have something that hasn't been answered, something that, I'm not aware of because they haven't made me aware of it, they fill it out, bling, it goes, hits my email, and now I have information and I can act on it. So that type of communication, they
Mm-hmm.
all say they love that. So if you move into the position, you need to communicate. You need to be authentic. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't try to be the other person. Be who you are and own it and be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
And schedule, schedule. You need to have a schedule to do this job. There are so many things pulling at you for your attention that if you don't have a schedule and set clear boundaries around things, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
waste so much time and you're not going to get anything done. There's no reason to answer every email within 5 minutes that it comes into your inbox. Check your email twice a day. Once in the morning when you come in the office, give it about a half hour. And then after everybody leaves, give it another half hour.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find most things work themselves out. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the other piece. Communicate, schedule your time, and step back and empower people to figure out their own issues. You don't need to be the answer to every issue.
Right.
And so,
Exactly.
teachers looking to come into the position, sometimes it's funny. I was just talking to former NASSP president, Dan, and he said to me, and now I just lost it because I was thinking of his title. For new people, that's what it was. This is a great job. And I always say the principalship is the hardest job you'll ever love. And oftentimes, as we're experiencing a teacher shortage, we're experiencing an administrator shortage. Obviously, it goes uphill. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies. And we talk about just how tough this job is and how this parent is this and how I've always got something to do and how I had to do work this weekend and how I had to work over the vacation. And people look at us and they go, man, I'd never want that job. If you're a teacher looking to go
Yeah.
into leadership at a higher level, because I believe teachers are leaders too. But if you're
Oh,
looking to take,
exactly.
so if you're looking to take that next step, make sure you're taking it for the right reason and don't listen to the people telling you how god awful it is,
Mm-hmm.
because odds are there's a part that they're missing where they could improve on, and that's not to put anybody down, that would make it not as awful as they think it is.
Right.
And
Exactly.
when you're in that position, you open up to just how awesome this position is. It's a great position if you make it a great position. It's an awful position if you live there and make that an awful position. So
Right.
I think get your priorities straight for people looking to move up. Know why you're doing it. Own that reason and do it. Take the
Mm-hmm.
steps that you need to do and find somebody that is going to hold you accountable to that and keep you in line. In other words, find a fantastic mentor.
Yes. I
Find a
cannot
coach.
I cannot give you enough accolades for saying that, because that is my message on both my podcasts.
Mm,
Somebody to help you through and to collaborate with. And you're going to have different people in different areas. So don't just look for one mentor or coach or thought
right.
partner. Look for several, because they all bring something different to the table.
I think Brene Brown calls it her square squad.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And she says if you take a 1 by 1 inch piece of paper and write people's names on it, you can get about 5 people's names on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's your square squad.
Mm-hmm.
That's the squad that is closest to you. That's who you can call and say, hey, am I crazy? And they'll look at you and say, yeah, Chris, you're acting a little crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
Exactly.
I I can't talk about how important that is. And hopefully you don't mind. I'm going to give somebody a shout out on your podcast. And their program. It's Danny Bauer and Better Leaders, Better Schools. He runs
Mhm.
Mastermind, and he does so much more than that. But I remember meeting Danny, and I remember joining his mastermind. And I can say without a doubt, due to his mentorship, his coaching, I would not be in the position performing at the level that I am today. I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be a mediocre principal somewhere.
I understand.
You know,
I feel
struggling.
the same way about
Right.
things.
Walking around saying, "Oh, this job is awful," instead of saying, "I love this job. Sure, it's tough
Mhm.
at times, but I love this job."
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, tell us how my audience can connect with you, where they can get your book, where they can find your podcast.
Sure. My podcast is shared everywhere. I mean, iTunes,
Mhm.
Spotify.
Mhm.
It's Seeing to Lead, SEEING 2, not the number, spell out TO, and then lead. And my book is the same title, and that's on Amazon, so you can find it anywhere there. But look, if anybody wants to email me, I answer my emails. It's drchrissj at Gmail, and you can find me all over social media under Christopher Jones, Dr. Chris S.J., any of those. So
Now you know I'm going to be singing the song from TV. I think it was Thor and Dr. Jones. It was on a TV show. I can't. Big Bang Theory. I think they were singing Thor and Dr. Jones. So now I'm
yeah.
going to be singing that all day.
No, it's yeah, there are and unfortunately somebody has tried to sing them all to me. There are different renditions of
Oh yeah.
songs with Dr.
Gotta love it.
Jones.
Gotta love it. I love it. This
Pro-
has been a great conversation. I appreciate so much you being on the show. I will have all of the links to his book, his podcast, all of the things in my show notes for any of you who are listening and want to connect with him. And for the rest of you, have a great rest of your day. And I will see you back here next week. Bye bye.